Hello and welcome to another Star Wars: The Old Republic video. In this video, I'm going to be going over 17 tips that I think you should know, whether you're a new player or an experienced player. So let's get right into it. Tip number 1, don't worry about all the tips and maximizing and researching and everything. You really don't need to know much to get into this game and enjoy it. Just start playing it right away. There's very few things in this game that will punish you for not knowing tips or not knowing stuff before you start playing. So yeah, do watch the rest of the video because there's a lot of useful stuff in here, but just know you really don't need to know any of this stuff to really start enjoying the game. Go have some fun, and now without further ado, let's get into the rest of the tips. Alright, so tip number 2, get your legacy as soon as you can. So I believe it's level 15 when you can start a legacy. This character's on a server that I don't have a legacy yet, and he's only level 4, so as you see, he cannot currently get a legacy. So let's hop over into one of my other characters on a different server where I've fully unlocked legacy. So I just created this character on that server, and as you can see under character perks, nothing is unlocked yet. These are specific to each character you create. There's tons of useful things here. Leveling up faster, your speeder or your mount to be able to move faster, leveling it up. Quick travel buttons that allow you to get around faster, and then summoning items like your droids and your banks and stuff. And then if you go under global unlocks other, these are going to be across all of your characters once you buy them once. You have them for your whole legacy and they're fully unlocked. Rocket boost, best thing ever. Being able to mount and dismount while running, a lot of convenience things. A lot of these are great. As you can see, I have the vast majority of all of these things already unlocked. Tip number 3, let's talk about the user interface. So you can customize and you can set up your user interface in different ways. When you start the game, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be very basic, not too many spots. You don't have many abilities at the beginning, so it's not a big deal. But there are a few different ways you can get to your user interface. So it doesn't matter which way you choose to get there. And then once you do, you can select the different elements. You can enable them, disable them. You can change different settings about them, how they look. And you can really customize it to work out to the way that you want and the way that it works the best for you and with your gameplay. Now, in the meantime, before you figure out exactly how you want to set it up, a quick shortcut that you can do is you can select one of the pre-made options right here from the drop-down list. And you can just set one of those to have a few more buttons without having to really understand the full system. And that can really help you as you start to get more abilities. As you can see, here's a character who has a custom user interface that I've designed for them where they've got more buttons and everything. And I've named it. And that brings us into tip number 4. So there are 4 main classes that you can play in Star Wars: The Old Republic, each of them having 2 additional subclasses in them. They have different play styles, but generally what you're going to find is that there's going to be either melee, ranged, and then between that, you can either be a force user or a tech user. So it's pretty obvious who the force users are and that they're using the force. They'll have a lightsaber, which is pretty awesome. And then tech users are anyone who doesn't really use the force. And they'll tend to have things like pistols and shotguns, blaster rifles, assault cannons, so on. And there's a few different roles that you can play. You can do damage, you can do healing, or you can do tanking. So when you go into the character select screen and you pick your faction, every class that you see down along the bottom here, you can click up top and you can actually see, depending on which subclass you pick, what roles are available. So do you have the healing role available, or the tanking role, or the damage role? So it's not going to be every class can do all of the different roles. So that's important to note. In general, it is easier to play through the story on a DPS companion, goes a bit faster, and especially if you pick a stealth class your first time, that's kind of a bonus tip. So the one thing you want to know about these different classes and their different roles is that when you get to, I believe it's level 10, or maybe even earlier, press K, and you want to make sure you choose which specialization you want. So the main parent class gets a whole bunch of abilities, but the specialization or combat proficiency, they get some additional abilities that make them unique, as well as they unlock their passive tree and everything. So don't be like me running through the game up until who knows what level before you pick, because you're just missing out on things that make your character even better and more fun to play. So tip number 5, companion influence. Do note that companion influence, the most important thing is their influence level. It can go all the way from 1 up to 50. So to find that out, press N to bring up a companion's contact window, or press B. All companions can do the 3 roles: tanking, DPS, or healing. So really it's that influence level that determines which companion is the best out of all yours to help you in your adventures. Tip number 6, how to get around. This is going to be a few different things at once. One of the most important things that I've unlocked, being able to do priority transport to your starship. You get that through your legacy unlock. You can access through the Galaxy map. Here through the activity finder window, you can go solo tab and you can see some planet heroics to quickly get to planets. When you're on a planet itself, you can see, right now I'm down in the bottom of the map and I need to travel up there. I could go to the speeder, walk over to it and take the speeder, but that takes quite a bit of time. So instead I'm going to pop my quick travel button and we're going to click the spot on the map. Sorry, it's off the screen there. And that's going to allow us to teleport to that spot on the map without having to wait for the speeder ride, without having to move around. I just activated my rocket boost. This is another legacy perk. These are extremely useful because these can be used in areas where mounts are not allowed, and they still give you the same speed boost as using your normal speeder or mount. Speaking of the speeder and mount, here it is. Again, you move much faster when you have it out, and you can use those rocket boosts as a legacy unlock for areas where your mount's not allowed. Going back to the activities window, if you click on this and you use that to transport you to the heroic area, for the planets that usually have a spaceship intermediate where you have to do all this loading and unloading to get off of, this is going to drop you straight on the planet, making it much faster to get where you need to go. Pretty much all planets that have the intermediate spaceport, you can travel to this way to save yourself a lot of time. And then of course, you can use the speeders within the planet to get around. Any areas that you currently don't have unlocked for quick travel, as you can see right now, I don't have one. So I'm going to use a speeder to get there so that way I will end up having this quick travel unlocked to get around quickly. If for some reason the quick travel doesn't activate, click this little thing right here and it's going to allow you to do your quick travel. And usually they auto unlock, but every now and again they'll have a little icon above them, looks like an exclamation mark with some green rings under them. Still on tip number 6 for getting around fast, here's a trick that saved me a lot of time. So in your story class, when you have to return to your space dock or whatever it is, but not your ship itself to progress ending the planet, what you can do is you can use priority transport to get back to your starship and then just turn around and exit your ship. And now you can do the cutscene or the quest that's required for you to progress your story to finish the planet. And it saves you a lot of time compared to quick traveling back to the spaceport and then running all the way in. Tip number 7, let's talk about collections. So collections are generally items that are cartel market, or there's a few other items that aren't cartel market. And they're things that you can get across all of your legacy, I guess would be the best way to put it, and transfer them to your inventory. So if you've unlocked them across this legacy, you can transfer them, but if you haven't unlocked them, you can click the button to pay and unlock it for all of your accounts to have access to that item. So, if you have really cool cosmetic items, or in this case, lightsaber crystals, or even companions that you've gotten through special awards, and then you can transfer them quickly to every other character that you have, so you can use those items, and it's going to save you a lot of money. So tip number 8, you want to be doing conquest to make yourself a lot of credits. So as soon as you can, once you've got your stronghold, start working on your conquest. You get an achievement for meeting a personal conquest goal, and I highly suggest making sure you're part of a guild. So you're also going to be getting additional rewards for being part of that guild. So conquesting is a great way to bring in money, especially early on in the game. So make sure you're looking at that and you're not skipping out on that. If we take a look at some of the rewards that conquests give us, you can see the solid resource matrix sell for quite a bit on the Galactic Trade Network. You also get certificates that you directly sell to vendors to make money. And you get additional items if your guild meets their invasion target as well. So tip number 9, you can expand your inventory. Surprisingly, some players actually haven't even noticed that this option is in the game. So make sure that when you have some credits, you expand your inventory to make it larger. Depending on your account status, if you're free to play subscribed or not, it will give you different amounts of inventory you can unlock. So tip number 10, your gear has durability and it will get damaged over time as you're using it. And you can go to a vendor to repair your gear. So if we look here, in the bottom left, there's a repair all, or there's a tab for repair and it shows you all the gear that needs repairing. So I hit repair all. And now when we look at our gear's durability, it's back up to 100% durability. You can also get an icon above your character that will show you kind of a body armor that turns yellow or red to let you know the status of when your gear needs repair desperately. So tip number 11, as you're going throughout the world, sometimes you'll find that you get stuck and you're unable to move. And the way that you fix that, and hopefully don't get stuck right away, is typing /stuck into the chat, and that will teleport you slightly further away and get you unstuck. Now there is a 2-minute cooldown on that, so be very careful. One other thing you do need to know about the /stuck command is when you are in combat, it will kill you. So sometimes players use this intentionally to avoid the repair bill when they know they're going to die. Tip number 12, don't auto-target next enemy. So right now, by default, the setting is auto-target next enemy. So as soon as you press an attack, it automatically targets an enemy for you and starts shooting them. So I like to turn that off. That way you have to manually select the enemy, target it before you can attack. Really useful to make sure you don't accidentally pull a boss or pull extra groups of ads while fighting one of the groups. Tip number 13, how do you gear up in the game? What should you be worried about? So there are vendors on the different planets and on the fleet that you can buy different pieces from to wear with adaptive gear. So adaptive gear allows you to put in armorings, mod, augments. There's also speeder vendors you can find to buy stuff. And there's also the medical droids, which would allow you to buy your med packs and stuff to heal you in combat so that you have a better chance of surviving. General idea is put on the gear that you pick up as you level throughout the game. And if you really need a boost, you can go and buy some adaptive armor, or if you already have stuff that you can take out the individual components on it, buy the other pieces that fit inside of it that are appropriate for your level. On the fleet, they have a wide variety of different vendors at the different levels in one central place, which is much easier than trying to find the ones specifically on the planet. You can also buy gear on the GTN. Usually I don't suggest this, as the game is very good at giving you sufficient gear for what you need to do until you reach endgame and you're looking to get augments. But if you do decide that you need to look for gear at any other point, there's a few different ways. You can either type in the name if you know what it is, or you can use the filters. You can unselect the text that you put in and you can search for just everything that matches your filter. Tip number 14, there is a speeder on fleet to allow you to get quickly around between the 4 main segments of fleet. So depending where you're standing on the fleet, it's actually faster to hop on the speeder and get a boost. Tip number 15, completing missions is an awesome way to gain experience and generally will add up to a lot more experience than the actual killing of enemies that you do. So whether that be doing a flashpoint and you get the mission complete for that, or just stuff within your story quest, whenever you finish a mission in there, you're going to get a nice pop-up window that says mission complete, and it will show you how much experience you gain, or if you're level 75, how much renown. Generally, this is the fastest way for you to level up. You also want to note that when you do talk to your companions as well, you can get experience from completing the little quest icons above their head. So that's a great time to make sure you have one of your experience boosts on, as if you save a bunch of them up in a row, you can gain a ton of experience just from having those companion conversations, either in your ship or some safe area like a cantina. And that leads us into tip number 16, rested experience if you're a subscriber. So every time that you log out of the game, make sure you go to a safe area, such as a cantina, your starship, or your stronghold, and you'll be gaining rested experience so that the next time you log in and play, you'll get a bonus to your experience gain to help level you up even faster, and kind of make up for all that time you spent not playing. And the last tip that I'm going to share in this video, there's way too many tips to share, so I tried to pick some that I thought were really useful for you guys, really helped with the gameplay, some things that I found quite helpful that I want to spread out. And this one by far is one of the best that you can do, is joining a guild, joining a good guild, making sure that you actually join a guild that's going to help you out in a lot of different ways, but also just the fact that being in a guild right from the beginning is going to give you a lot of benefits anyways. So when you start out the game, don't be afraid to just join any guild right away just to get that bit of experience, perk that you get from being part of a guild, doing your conquest, so on. But definitely start looking around for a guild that's going to be a good guild and help you play the game, because it's going to make a big difference to your gameplay experience if you're rolling around with a guild that can help you, give you advice, they do active content, whereas a lot of the guilds that just spam invite you without you even asking, they tend to not really do that much. They tend to be smaller guilds or not very active, or nobody really talks to each other. So if you know that you want to be in a guild where people are helpful and you can learn stuff, make sure that you look around a bit, do a bit of research. You can either use the guild finding website where people post their ads, or you can go into your fleet on your faction and ask around for advice on which guilds are active and do different stuff. So on Imperial side and SWTOR Champ, my main guild is Burn the Land and Boil the Sea. We're mainly a pub side guild. You can't take the sky from me. And we do a lot of content, a lot of different activities. There's tons of helpful people who are willing to help you out. So it really can make a huge difference being part of a good guild right from the beginning to really set you up for a lot of stuff that's helpful. And even if you want to play solo, most of these guilds don't try and push you into doing content with them. It's just an additional resource that's there that you can use when you find that it's helpful. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you find a lot of these tips helpful or useful. Probably at some point we'll make another tip video because there's always too many tips to go over. But here are 17 tips that I think you should definitely know about when you're first starting out the game, or even players who are playing for quite a while might not even have known some of these tips. As always, have a great day and see you in the next video.